Swell Season Surf Radio is recorded by the Newsstand Studio at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by Wax.Radio.
Standing naked in your kitchen, feeling free that I could be alive. Clearly I'm a contradiction, too young to be my wife. A peaceful storm is never hectic, a mellow voice that I could be within. The uniform is anorexic, a jealous choice won't win. You gotta move, this is samurai. You gotta get low fish and you don't know why. I gotta metamorph, this is samurai.
Hello and welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host for this episode, Tyler Brewer. Dylan Hronec is a 29-year-old surfer from North Bellmore, New York. Born with cerebral palsy, Dylan has tackled many obstacles to get where he is today. He has been surfing for almost 11 years now. He developed a love for the water from a young age, but was always involved in other sports, as surfing was not considered a possibility for him. That is until Dylan went online one day and came across videos of Jesse Billauer, an accomplished quadriplegic surfer, and became instantly determined. Dylan's family supported this dream of his and started looking up possible surf outings in the area. They found a couple of local nonprofits, and soon enough, Dylan was riding his first wave. He is now more commonly known as the Surfing Samurai and has gone on to surf in Kelly Slater's wave pool, competed in the U.S. Adaptive Surfing Championships, and is brand ambassador for both the We the 15 campaign and the local nonprofit Surf for All. He's appeared in numerous media outlets such as CBS, ESPN, Buzzfeed, and more. We are super stoked to have him as our guest on this episode of Swell Season Surf Radio. Dylan, stoked you could be here, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
That was a heavy intro. Thanks,
Tyler. I tried to fit a lot into there, you know?
Yeah.
Just trying to get all your accomplishments. It's like it keeps going. I was just like, okay, what else? Got to edit this a little bit. Dylan, how you doing, man? How's everything been?
I'm doing all good. No complaints.
So I don't know if you remember, but we first met. Do you know where we first met? Do you remember?
Where I first remember meeting you is the Surf Week where we debuted the first major film thing that was ever done, which was sharing the stoke.
I feel like we met there, but I also feel like we met also seeing Tom Kern play in the Chop Shop with Marty down in Rockville Center. That was like the coolest fucking thing ever.
And I was there with my buddy Fro, who paints my boards.
It was that was like the craziest thing, man. Like being in this small space in the basement of a butcher shop, basically, and Tom, and all of a sudden Tom Kern is playing there, like in this small little space. Like it was the trippiest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to play Searching for Tom Kern in the background the whole time. I just always remember being there and meeting you there, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is fucking got to be as stoked. I don't know if he's as stoked as I am with Tom Kern here right now. I was kind of freaking out.
It was pretty cool.
But yeah, I just remember seeing you there, and then also all the obvious, media in the past and everything that, and Cliff Scudin is like one of your biggest fans and champions, and he's just always been like, "Oh my God, you got to get
I'm like
Dylan
an
on."
honorary Scootin' brother, I like to say, because I'm pretty much always around whenever there's something going on, and usually he's right next to me, making sure everything's under control, and everybody knows that I'm there too.
Well, so it's Dylan, Hronec, Scootin', right?
Pretty much.
I mean, it's awesome. Like, so I want to ask, like, first, like, can you remember like your first experience in the ocean and like what sort of feelings came to you? Because it seems like you've always had this connection to it, and from everything I've read,
I was able to swim before I could sit up myself.
Wow.
And things like that, because it was something that not only I wanted to do, but my family pushed. And obviously, I'm 29 years old, so early on, I'm not sure that like water therapy was coined exactly what it was, but I work with therapists from a young age that push the pool and being in the water, and obviously it was something that I enjoyed, so it was never really forced upon me because I wanted to be in the water, but I didn't get comfortable in the ocean until I was on a surfboard, because it's obviously fighting against the current with everything else that I have going on could be a little bit dicey when you don't have something else guiding you.
Can you explain for our listeners what cerebral palsy is and what type that you have?
So I'm not really sure what the exact medical term of the type of cerebral palsy is that I have, but the easiest way that I like to explain it to people is it's a neurological condition that affects your fine motor skills and things like that. So I could tell my feet to go, but they're not necessarily getting the correct signals from my brain to make that action occur in the manner that it's supposed to. So it's almost like you're fighting against your own body.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to, for some of our listeners who may not be aware, and like some of the challenges that you face, like it's you are in a wheelchair for the most part, but there's varying degrees of CP for people, correct?
Yep, I'm very lucky. Cognitively, I have no issues, and physically also, I'm able to do a lot, but there's still obviously limitations that I face throughout my daily life that I need assistance with. But the cool thing about surfing is when I'm doing that, it's not really factored into the equation, as opposed to the other adaptive sports where things are adapted due to whatever your challenges may be. I'm on the exact conditions as everybody else, and you're at the mercy of the ocean. So that's kind of what my attraction to surfing was, is like, this is exactly the same as everybody else, because obviously throughout my life, I have an older brother who's able-bodied, and he's an athlete, and we would participate in sports together, but it was never the exact same as it would be for him. So I kind of gravitated to finding something where there would be no differentiation, and this is the perfect recipe of support system. Obviously, a lot of my support system very well.
Yeah.
And just the sport itself meshes well with my personality and things like that.
Well, I feel like the ocean is the great leveler, right? And
it's an equalizer for sure.
But it's also, it has a lot of healing properties and very therapeutic, and it allows you to all those limitations kind of go away, I think, with it in some ways.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you discovered Jesse Billauer's surfing, like, and how you kind of came to surfing. Because I'm kind of interested in that story here.
It was something that years prior, before I even found the videos of Jesse, I was aware of that people did because, my buddy Joey Testaverde, who suffered a spinal cord injury his senior year of high school, his parents used to run a nonprofit called Wheels to Water.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Cliff and Will would help out at the outings on jet skis, getting everybody out in the water, and that's actually how I met them. But I think for me, seeing the videos of Jesse, because Joey didn't have any film, but seeing the video and visually having it presented in front of me, it was like, okay, this is somebody that has similar circumstances to myself because my condition affects all four of my limbs as it does with a quadriplegic. And I'm seeing the exact equipment that he's using, everything that I would need to outfit myself, I saw in front of me point blank. So it was like, okay, I could go do this now.
So for our listeners who may not be familiar, Jesse Billauer was a up-and-coming pro surfer who suffered a spinal cord injury and, had become quadriplegic, but he then started Life Rolls On organization and, had persisted to continue surfing and has basically laid the foundation, I think, for a lot of adaptive surfing today.
I think especially for me, sports were 95% of my life, let's say, revolves around sports, even to this day. But as an adaptive athlete, there's not a lot of people that you can look to and see yourself in. So for me, I saw a bit of myself as opposed to you go to a baseball game and you see Ken Griffey Jr. That doesn't really fit my circumstance.
Right.
This is a point blank example of somebody dealing with a similar situation, and he's charging big waves. He's competing at a high level. He's still looked at as an elite athlete, and that's what I strive for. And at that point, that idea kind of popped into my head after seeing the videos, this is attainable, and not only is it attainable, maybe I can do that at this level too.
Well, I mean, it's incredible. It's funny, it's become a very common theme in a lot of our interviews and episodes of representation and being able to see it, to want to do it, with surfing, particularly for years, you wouldn't even know, or you wouldn't see it a lot of the times. And up until about little over 25 years ago, it's just started to coalesce. And now, I think there's a movement of adaptive surfing that's really kind of gaining traction.
I find it very interesting that we're pretty good with technology now these days.
Yeah.
But even with the adaptive sports community, you still have to kind of know somebody who's involved in whatever it may be to get involved in it. It's still not as widely known about as you would think. I would have interactions when I was a kid where most of the people that I played sports with, the main sport that I did before surfing was sled hockey, which is adaptive ice hockey. Most of my teammates were 30 to 35 years older than me.
Wow.
It's not like you have kids teams, and now there are kids teams and things like that, but when you're 10 years old and you're playing against someone 30 years older than